librarians have become targets by a movement that disingenuously claims to pursue freedom, but instead promotes authoritarianism.
Regimes ban books, not democracies.
Earlier this month, Illinois became the first state in the nation to outlaw book bans. The new law will pull state funding from libraries that try to ban books based on partisan or personal reasons. That's just some of the work state leaders are doing in their efforts to make Illinois a safe haven for the LGBTQ+ community, as laws curbing rights continue to be considered in Republican-led legislatures. Governor J.B. Pritzker has also signed off on protections for gender-affirming care and health care workers that provide it. Earlier this month, the Human Rights Campaign declared its first ever state of emergency. The historic declaration comes in response to a spike in anti-LGBTQ+ laws just across state lines in Indiana. A federal judge blocked part of a law meant to stop transgender minors from accessing hormone medication. But a prohibition on gender-affirming surgeries will still take effect. According to the ACLU, that's just one of more than 460 discriminatory bills that have been introduced in state legislatures this year alone. All of the political turmoil has led to some members of the LGBTQ+ community to relocate from home states they now find hostile to Chicago and other Illinois towns across the state. A new effort is hoping to ensure equal access to housing opportunities for LGBTQ+ individuals. And my next guests say there is still work to be done to make Illinois more welcoming. Joining me this morning in our WGN studios is Brian Johnson, CEO of Equality Illinois, and Shimmy Braun, Senior Loan Officer at Cross Country Mortgage. Gentlemen, good to see you this Sunday morning. Thanks for coming in.
Paul, thanks for having us.
You know, I plan to start in a certain place, but after having watched that setup along with you, what's in the water around this country that is leading to all of this, what seems discrimination, bigotry? What's going on?
I think it's probably two things. One, I think there are real questions that some people have around what does it mean when our traditional notions of marriage or gender are evolving to a fuller understanding of who we are. And I think more importantly and dangerously, there are a small number of anti-equality, anti-family politicians who are willing to attack the most vulnerable among us to serve their own political ends. And when those two come together, I think you see a firestorm of inequality trying to reach across the country.
And Shimmy, so this is Pride Month, and it's host to Just Say LGBTQ campaign to fight discrimination, create a welcoming housing environment, because that's your area of expertise, throughout the state. So talk about how this program came about and what its goals are.
Well, I'll say, number one, it's very personal to me because I have a 14-year-old son who's transgender, biologically female, and is now identifying as male. And he lives with his mom in Florida. So when we talk about don't say LGBTQ+ as the theme, that's really combating what we all know now as the just say gay, don't say gay.
Right.
Law legislation that's out in Florida where he lives. So he has to, what we're discussing now is him having to come to Chicago once a month potentially to do gender affirming care, which he won't be able to do in Florida as it stands right now. So that was definitely part of what started this campaign. As it relates to the housing piece of it, it's really important to me, being in the Chicago community and having been doing this for 25 years here, mortgage-wise, I've seen so much, you know, the ups and downs of whether it's gay marriage, you know, all the different legislation that's come through that's helped and hurt, you know, potential home buyers.
And what's key is you're putting your money where your mouth is, right? Because it's not just the name of a program. You are asking for money, for donations from about a dozen mortgage loan officers across the state. What are they doing?
So what we're doing is we teamed up with Ryan and Equality Illinois, and for every loan that closes this month, myself and a dozen other loan officers at Cross Country Mortgage will be giving $100 per closing, which we anticipate should add up to somewhere in the $10,000 range. And that's going to do some great work with helping Equality Illinois accomplish their goals.
Brian, look, the Human Rights Campaign, as I said in the lead-in, has declared a state of emergency now for LGBTQ plus Americans. And we see the kind of laws that are passing in existence, like Uganda, where you can be put to death for being gay. It would seem to me, in a more educated country, like, with all due respect to Uganda, I don't know how educated they are, so maybe they're very educated. But here, one would think that education and learning and knowledge is the key to resolving this.
I do think that's a huge part of it. I mean, one of the reasons we are proud that Illinois is one of the only states in the country that requires the teaching of the contributions of LGBTQ plus people in public school. But I think it's also important to acknowledge, and why what Shimmy and his compatriots are doing is so important, is in a democracy, you can never just assume you've arrived and back off. You have to wake up every day and insist that your dignity is acknowledged and fight for your rights.
In 2023, the Business Climate Index released an out leadership business platform revealing regression in LGBTQ plus access and equality in the U.S. Alarming statistics?
Absolutely. I mean, you can build up and feel like you're accomplishing so much and then regress. And that's why, as Brian is saying, it's something that is a continuous, it's something that just needs to be constantly refreshed, looked at, and made sure that we aren't having those regressions. And when we do, we have to jump on it immediately.
So, Brian, the good news is in Illinois, it's pretty much a safe haven for people of a variety of lifestyles, and many call Chicago a beacon of hope and refuge. So talk about the migration of the community to states from Illinois like Kentucky and Indiana and Iowa and Missouri. Aren't these efforts maybe better placed in those states to try and get change created there?
I think we can do both. I mean, look, it is important that Illinois is a beacon of freedom for the entire region. I mean, it is important that when people need gender-affirming care across the country, they know they can come here. They are protected by our SHIELD law, which was written by and championed by State Senator Selena Villanueva and State Representative Kelly Cassidy. But also, we need to make sure that we inspire other communities to keep hoping for full equality. That's why we insist at Equality Illinois that we keep our foot on the gas and keep pushing to make sure that LGBTQ plus people are fully acknowledged and affirmed in this state.
Shimmy, aside from your career and your work, why the focus on the housing aspect? Are LGBTQ plus people, is there discrimination when it comes to housing, purchasing homes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a lot of fear. People are fearful that they won't be looked at the same as, say, a heterosexual couple coming to see a house. A gay couple feels like they may not be, their offer may not be accepted. That's commonly relayed over to me, and I do have a lot of people that that do need me to talk through with them, with their realtors, what it means to make sure they have the right pronouns being used. One thing that happens, for example, with transgender folks is they may have gone through a transition where their name has changed. So I could pull a credit report, for example, and their old information is on there. Yeah. And they're scared. So that fear sometimes stops them from even trying to buy the home. So it's important that the agents, that mortgage folks are educated to know how to address someone who is coming in with those concerns.
Sure. And Brian, you know, look, even in Illinois, we've got discrimination, drag events that have happened. Library in Downers Grove canceled drag bingo. Maybe I'm naive or whatever, but I always felt like if you don't like the idea of drag bingo or drag event, just don't go.
I think that's fair. I mean, look, I think we are better off in a state like Illinois when we can affirm the dignity of queer families and queer people, just like we affirm the dignity of so many other communities.
This program you're doing goes on through the month of June. With success then, or will continue, or what do you expect might happen?
So I'm personally going through August. So
okay.
Me and my team are doing it through the summer. The additional folks at the company are doing it through this month.
All right.
We'll see. Hopefully we'll be able to get them to continue on as well.
Appreciate you. Brian Johnson, CEO of Equality Illinois, and Shimmy Braun, Senior Loan Officer at Cross Country Mortgage. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Still to come this half hour on WGN-TV Political Report, Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle says no new taxes for the upcoming budget year. But how will the county fill thousands of still vacant jobs? More on that when we come back.